This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
We call it the Breach. It's a massive rift into the world of demons that grows larger with each passing hour. It's not the only such rift, just the largest. All were caused by the explosion at the Conclave.
An explosion can do that?
This one did. Unless we act, the Breach may grow until it swallows the world.
Hi there guys, welcome to another one of my vlogs. It's been a little bit of a gap between this one and the last one. It's been worth the wait though, because the game I'm doing is Dragon Age Inquisition, which, boy, was this worth the wait. It's an absolute pleasure to have played this game. It's been such a long time since we've got a game that we could just lose ourselves in RPG wise. For me anyway, since Skyrim I've not sort of lost myself in an RPG the way that I've lost myself in Dragon Age Inquisition. An absolute joy to play. It's so stunning. It looks incredible. This game is not just for new gen, although it will look awesome on new gen in comparison to old. So you can kind of see where things could have been even more uber, in my opinion. There's a lot of loading screens. They're not big, long loading screens, but they are there. And I think if they had just made this game for the new gen of console, I think a lot of those loading screens could have gone. But obviously they're trying to push it across the Xbox 360 and the PS3 as well. But I played this on PS4, absolutely loved it. I mean, the loading screens for me weren't really a problem. They generally take you to massive areas anyway, and you spend hours and hours and hours in there. I have spent 150 hours in this game, and that was me. I cleaned up the map pretty much. I did have a friend who's done it in under 100, so I think it just depends on what pace you want to rattle through it at. I'm one of these players that sort of tends to PS4 share constantly, sort of looking in awe and wonder at what the people who made the game have done, and I just sort of like walk around with my jaw dropped and really take my time with them. So if you play that way, that you're easily going to get 120 to 150 hours out of it if you do all the quests and everything. I did make a small... when you're playing RPGs, anyone who plays RPGs regularly tends to try and clean up areas before they move story forward. Now I wish I hadn't done that in this game, because when I got near to the end of the story, when I finally started playing the story, a lot of things on the map areas started unlocking that I could have been doing all of the time I was running around all these areas. And it does tell you when you're going past a point of no return, so you're as well just cleaning up some areas, then, you know, pushing the story forward a bit. And it keeps you hooked to the story a bit more as well, rather than just sort of aimlessly wandering around. But anyway, it's a small thing. It didn't matter in the end. I mean, it was actually quite nice to just rattle through the story when I got the maps cleaned up. So all in all, the story itself is not a new one, and it's pretty much the Oblivion story in my opinion. How they've got away with that, I'm not sure. But it's the concept of the game is that you've been dragged into the Fade, which is a sort of spirit type place, and you've come back with this ability to close up these rifts, and the rifts are what the demons are coming through and causing chaos everywhere. This is all happening because of a big bad guy who wants to become a god, and we don't want that to happen because he's a bit evil, and we've kind of seen all this before. So that's the arc of the story really. You have this gift, you're trying to figure out why you've got this gift, you can't remember why you were in the Fade in the first place, what happened, whether you're a good or a bad person. That all comes to light as you play through it. But the joy of this game obviously is not in the story as such. It's not... As BioWare, they give you all of these decisions to make through the game, as they always do. They did it with Mass Effect, they did it in the previous Dragon Age stories, Origins, and the same in Dragon Age 2. I was a massive fan of Origins. I loved it to pieces, and like most people, I was particularly disappointed with Dragon Age 2. It felt like a massive DLC, and it just wasn't. They changed the battle system to a point where I didn't like it. Now, all of the things that they lost in moving to Dragon Age 2, they've got back in this game, more or less. There were a few things in this game that were missing that would have made it perfect for me. Now, one of the key things that was missing in this for me was weapon sets. In Origins, you could be a rogue and you could have two weapon sets. You could have a bow weapon set and a dagger weapon set, which meant you could mix the moves that you were doing between the two. So if people got up close and personal with it, you could switch the weapon sets off the radial menu and go straight into the daggers. And if you were fighting from distance, you could swap back to the bow. Now, they didn't give us them. And it's such a simple thing that was on the radial menu in Origins, and I loved it. And I can only think that they didn't put it in on purpose because they were trying to force people to pick what they wanted to be at the beginning. But to some extent, you have to try and keep it real. You wouldn't, in a real life situation, but in the worlds of games, in a real life situation, if somebody's coming that close to you, you don't start firing arrows in their face from like 3 centimetres. You would revert to some smaller weapon that you had on your person, or you would punch them, wouldn't you? You wouldn't keep firing bows into their face at 2 yards. So that for me was frustrating throughout, because there were many times that I wished I could just flip over to me daggers and start using the dagger moves on things that got up close and personal. But I do think that it might have been something they did consciously because they wanted people to think about the other people in the party. So, for example, take another rogue with you who's got daggers or not. But it does, to some extent, you do need to take a mage with you, and you do need to take a warrior with you and a rogue with you, depending on what you decide your character is going to be. I decided to play as a rogue with a bow, and I just fancied that at the time. I did, however, take another character on with bow moves as well, but because you've got the unlockable, the ability trees do differ anyway, so you don't have to have two people with bows doing the same thing, which is great. So I had another rogue with different abilities to me, doing different things. She was using poison and I was using the uber sort of bow moves rather than the poison, and then later on I unlocked other things that I could use. You get a choice. There were people that I brought to the central sort of hub of where you end up, massive castle that becomes your home, and I brought 3 people there, and they all you do certain things quest wise to unlock the ability and then decide whether or not you want to go with that person's training or another person's training, and so on. And I decided to pick this particular chap who trained in trap making and that sort of stuff. So I eventually got the ability to throw down traps in front of me while people were coming at me. And I think it's possible that they were pushing people towards using those abilities rather than using the weapon sets. But I would still have liked to have had the weapon set option. It was just more fun, and it broke the gameplay up. Because if all you're doing is holding down the shoot arrow button and then interjecting moves, it does get a little bit monotonous at times. I suspect it might have been slightly more interesting, sort of playing as a mage or whatever. And I played it on normal because I wanted to really enjoy it. And not feel frustrated at any point. I just want the first playthrough. I knew I was going to play this game at least 3 or 4 times throughout the duration I've got it. I never trade my games in, so I'll have this game for years and years to come, and I will revert back to it at some point and enjoy another 150 or however many hours on it. But I will do it as another character, and I'll play it on the Uber level so that I can get the trophy for that. I mean, I first playthrough, I've got maybe 75% or something of the trophies playing it on normal, so that's pretty good going, I think. But I did clear up pretty much all of the map, got all the characters, all that sort of stuff. There's some. I could talk about this game. I mean, this vlog could become so long. There is so much in this game, it is just ridiculous, and for me to talk about it all would take this vlog into the stratospheres of an hour, which nobody wants to watch on YouTube. Very quickly, when you're running around collecting things, you're doing so in order to level yourself up, in order to, like in all RPGs, get more powerful and unlock abilities in the ability trees I was just talking about. There is an umpteen different things you can unlock in these trees. You have static abilities which will always be there, so those are, you tend to move for them first because you know you don't have to do anything. They'll just uber you up. And in between those, as you go down the tree, you unlock the moves that you interject while you're playing, which are the sort of uber moves while you're firing your bow and all that sort of stuff. So you are running around leveling up in order to unlock all of those moves, as well as, of course, you are part of a party. It's not just about you and your character. You decide who it is that's going to be on your party, and you have to make sure that you're equipping them, that you're doing their upgrades, and you build it all to become a really uber team rather than just about you. Because if you just concentrate on yourself, you will get it handed to you. You have to tell your team, you have to equip them, and you have to kind of tell them in places what they're to do in battle. So that's the first reason for wandering around doing lots of stuff. The other thing is that you will do quests and you will do Inquisition type things that are handed to you in order to get Inquisition. Well, there's Inquisition points which unlock other abilities, like they're almost sub-abilities, like I can carry more potions, I'm slightly more uber at this now, rather than actual moves and you being uber as a person. It kind of unlocks team things, and you do those. There's lots of different categories for them. There's sort of a rogue category, there's a politicians category, and that sounds a bit boring, but it's not really. And there's a warrior one, and they all unlock extra things that help you in battle as well, and they're particularly hard to get, and it took me a long time, and I didn't unlock all of them, but I got all the key ones. I got all the ones that were really useful. I mean, there was one, for example, that unlocked, you know, an extra 10% damage protection for your team, all sorts of little things like that. Deft hands, which allows you to unlock certain doors. These were all Inquisition point unlocks rather than XP unlocks. Along with that, you've also got power points. Now, power points unlock the ability to actually progress in the game. So when you do you generally get them at the same time that you get the Inquisition. You'll get an Inquisition point when you level that up, but that bar increases, and the power points come to you as you do these things as well. So you'll get 2 or 3 power points depending on what it is you've just done, and you use those when you go. There is an area, there's a room in the game called the war table. Well, there's a room, and it's got in it a war table, and the war table allows you to strategically plan what you're going to do next. You can send your team on they're not, you can send your team on missions, and by team I don't mean the people that you're running around with. There are key characters in the game who are part of the Inquisition, and they run the Inquisition with you, who don't run around in battle with you. They are simply the people who command the army. There's a guy that commands the army, there's the politician woman that deals with all the politics, and you've got Liliana, the rogue. Liliana, anyone who's played Origins will know Liliana from the other 2 games. She was an awesome character. In fact, she was the love interest in my first playthrough of Origins. Fantastic character. Really well acted again. So those people will go off and do side things on the table, and it just helps gather materials, and it'll unlock other missions and things for you and your actual playable parties to go out and do. So the power points, you build those up, and some things will, you know, there's some of the side stuff actually doesn't cost power points, but when you actually want to go into and do a mission that's playable, then you'll generally be asked to pay 10 power points or 30 power points, and it also tells you what level it recommends that you do it at. So it was all really clever, because sometimes with RPGs it's just about XPing, level up, level up, level up. Oh, I've capped and I'm bored now because I can't go any further. There is no real cap in this game, because you run out of things to do. You don't stop leveling up. I think I stopped at level 24, I think I was at. And that I had uber abilities by then. I was really, really good in battle, as was my team. You can also do a shed load of stuff with blacksmithing, and the potion side of it seemed a bit weak actually. There were certain, you could upgrade the health potions to be slightly more powerful, so that when you took one it filled up faster. You could do the regen potions so that they would heal people within the vicinity of you. You know, a glyph would appear underneath your feet, and that would heal people that were stood close to you. So But other than that, it was kind of like you could build some grenades and you could build some bee bombs and you could build, you know, things that they would take out. The problem I had with the potions was you could build all these things, but you couldn't tell the party what to do with them. In Origins, you could specifically say, it was always like a massive if statement, Origins, where you went in, you had to spend hours in this menu in Origins trying to tell your party what to do in battle, because you couldn't just take over. They had to know what they were doing. And in that, you could say, in this particular instance, use this potion, you know, this bomb or whatever. You couldn't seem to do that in Inquisition, so it was kind of almost like I would go into the inventory and they just hadn't used them, they were just sat there. So there was no point to me giving them grenades and stuff that I could see. The only thing that they would take on their own was a health potion. Even the regen potions, I had to physically take over the party member in battle and say, right, take the regen potion, then shift to the next party member and so on. But yeah, it wasn't a huge problem, but it just seemed bizarre that they just didn't give you the extra ability in the menu to say, in this particular instance, take a regen health potion, or, you know, whatever. It just seemed to be that they would only ever take the actual health potion if their health dropped beyond a certain point. You could say you would take a health potion. So that was a little bit disappointing, because I thought that could have been deeper. But it didn't take away from the enjoyment of the game. I mean, it was just a small frustration because I know how in-depth Origins was. And I think to a greater extent it was probably... I think they've tried to... Dumb down's a bit harsh, I don't mean it like that. But they have, for want of a better phrase, they've dumbed it down a bit, because I think they know that the average game player doesn't want to spend hours and hours in a menu doing if statements for characters. I think they've tried to bring a bit of it back, but not make it hard work. You know, core RPG players would love, I would love to have seen that stuff back more in depth, but I understand why in this day and age they have to try and keep it as simple as possible. And even then, there was still a lot of working out to do. There wasn't really any tutorial stuff on it either. You know, people hadn't played... I mean, I spoke to a friend who hadn't played Origins before, and he was constantly asking, what you know, is there anything I'm missing? And there was stuff where you could tell the party to a point what to do in battle, you know, to follow you or just take care of themselves or whatever. But it never really explained that was there. It was just because I went looking for it because I was expecting it to be there. So that was a little thing as well. But so yeah, I mean, if you, I can't imagine anyone's got any doubts about getting this game. But if you were in two minds about it, whether or not it was any good, it's fantastic. I couldn't have asked for... I mean, I've been waiting for so long on this gen of console for a game that actually delivers, and finally this one promised that it was going to, and it did. I mean, it absolutely... I mean, it just... When I first started playing it, it just blew my mind. It looks incredible. Now, we've had this before where games have come out on new gen and they look amazing, but they just feel empty. Watch Dogs is a prime example. Destiny's a bursting example of that. I mean, I was dying to play Destiny and it was just so empty. I can't believe. I mean, they just wanted to make money out of us. You know, half the stuff that they're selling now should have just been in there in the bloody first place. But this game, I would have been devastated if this hadn't been the game I was hoping for. And to the greater extent, it's been absolutely what I hoped for. I mean, I couldn't have been happier playing this game. And to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that Christmas Day is tomorrow and I know that I've got games to open, I probably would have started another playthrough now. But as it is, I've got some lovely new games to open tomorrow, so I'm very excited about that. I know for a fact that I've got the Halo collection coming, so I'll be back on the Xbox for a bit. I've treated myself to Assassin's Creed because I saw it at, well, it was half price. I mean, it was well cheap, so I thought, why not? So I've got that to play on the PS4. And what else? Oh yeah, well actually I saw Evil Within. That'll be coming a bit after because I ordered that yesterday because I saw it again at half price. I thought I'll go for that. So yeah, so anyway, I ramble on. Those are coming. So if they hadn't been happening, then I would have gone straight into another playthrough of this because I absolutely loved it. I'm dying to play it on the Uber version. Really, the Mage playthrough looks like it could be really good fun. So I'd really like to give that a go. All in all, absolutely fantastic. Did it have the strength of Origins? Yeah, pretty much. Did the characters match up to Origins? Not quite, but there are a couple of really cool nerdy moments. I mean, I was having nerdasms all over the place at the end when a certain character shows up and then another certain character shows up. And then if you wait to the end of the credits, there's a bit of a sort of OMG moment right at the end, which leaves it wide open for another one. We hope. So hopefully me rambling on for a bit has let me show you a bit more gameplay than I anticipated doing. So I did capture loads of the dragon battles, so hopefully I'm recording this before I've decided what to put in the visuals behind me, but the dragon battles were fantastic. I'll put plenty of that in the I've captured loads of that, and I'll put a sort of montage of different areas in just so you can see the uberness and awesomeness and just how grand it looked. So I've probably missed a gazillion things rambling on like I have, but as you know, I like to do these vlogs exactly as that. I don't like editing them. I like to just ramble off the top of my head. So hopefully that's given you a rough idea of just how bloody awesome this game is. Now, I won't leave it so long next time. It has been a little bit dry for me getting games for a number of reasons, but I have all these games coming, so I'll have plenty of vlogs to bring you again for those who want to see me ramble on a bit. And I hope this has helped everybody, and everybody have an amazing Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I will see you all soon. You take it easy. Bye.